I figured we could just get rolling, just kind of catching up, seeing what's going on.
Yeah, for
Joe,
sure.
you just busted your fucking toe in the gym.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Dropped the weight on it. Uh, it's black and purple.
Oh yeah.
That's about it. Still walking with a limp. Not as much pain as I was in the previous 2 days, but I mean I'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought probably.
Okay. Yeah, so how's training going aside from that? I mean, I know we train together, but like aside from that, how's everything going? Because you're in it, we're doing a cut right now, so how you
Yeah.
doing? How you feeling?
Um, I've only had the one training day yesterday, which was upper body, so it was pretty easy. Or like easy on the foot. I mean, the session wasn't easy. But I still feel fine. Um, I'm not able to really like, I guess the thing that I noticed was I wasn't able to connect with the ground as hard or like push, like dig into the ground in order to push a little bit just because the toe was hurting, but I was still able to get everything done. Had a really good session, so
Sweet.
um, so yeah, that and the cardio was a little bit messed up. Um, but that's really, I can work around that. So
Yeah, that's almost the cardio. Fuck. I mean, maybe just being on like what, the recumbent bike or something where you don't have to like, you know,
yeah,
really,
walk.
yeah, walk. But you had hit cardio yesterday. Did
Yeah,
you do hit? Yeah.
I did hit. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's where you could maybe even just do something that's upper body like the ski erg. I know we've done that a couple times, you know. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I just prefer the bike. I don't know why it's weird. I like the bike. So I still just did the assault bike anyways. I wasn't in any pain or anything, so I was good to go.
yeah, the salt bike it's a good bang for your buck. That bike fucks you up.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So, TJ, so
yeah.
you are now a couple workouts into a new chapter in your training.
Yes.
What is that about?
Um, what's funny is my calves are not sore. I thought I was gonna be able to walk after that first day, and I actually was not sore at all. So it was very surprising.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, my upper back, oddly enough, is like more sore than anything else. Um, which like I haven't done a ton of upper back anything, so I'm curious what that's all about.
You haven't done a ton of upper back stuff?
Not in our current block. No, yesterday we did.
Oh, no, I meant like I was thinking like you were like you just don't do a whole lot of upper back stuff in
Oh,
the training that you were doing before.
I usually
So,
do it. Yeah, so that's why I'm
okay.
not sure
Yeah.
why. I haven't done those reverse flies in a while though, and so I probably was getting a lot more trap than I wanted on that. You saw the video of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, honestly, it looked pretty good. So, hey, to cue everybody in, TJ has recently switched over from powerlifting into bodybuilding, right? So, a bit of a transition for him. So, we're working together on this, and so just the kind of the training is really shifted, and moving from powerlifting to bodybuilding, like some of the positional stuff that we were talking about, where um, it's just the goal is different, so the intent has to be different. So, um, you know, like we were working on like the reverse pec deck for the rear delts, right? So when you were doing like your accessory work for powerlifting, what would you normally do for rear delts? Like, was that something that's even actually targeted, like beyond like face pulls or like?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would do like dumbbell rear delt flies. I like the chest
Oh,
support where you like do almost like you're going to do a row, do a rear delt fly. And I
right.
think the way that I would train accessories was very much the same. Like I would never really train them as like another movement to get stronger at. I always kind of try to train the muscle, um, just because that's what you're supposed to do with accessories, right? So I'm not like unfamiliar with that necessarily. I think there's just definitely more of an intent on it now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like before, if I'm doing some rear delt flies like that and I get a little bit of upper back, it's like, well, it's not the end of the world. I'll get a trap pump. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to move some weight, but like move it with the muscle versus just move it around. And now
Right.
it's like, okay, we really want to try as best we can to isolate the rear delt. So it's like the weights are definitely a lot lower than I probably like thought they would be, um, but definitely just as difficult.
Yeah. The when you like on that exercise, for example, like the reverse pec deck, when you're really just trying to keep your shoulders like your scapula is more like neutral or even like a little bit protracted, it's alarming like how weak you are. You know what I mean? Like how
Like
little weight you actually need. And you'll get stronger at that, but it is initially alarming like when you really try to keep yourself out of, retracting through your shoulder blades, just how little weight you actually need to stay on that muscle. So,
I think what like the most surprising thing from yesterday, which was just like an arm and delt day, it's actually like the Smith machine JM press. I've got pretty strong triceps. Like my bench grip is just pinkies on the ring, so I'm not like a pec bencher. You know what I mean? I'm definitely like
mm-hmm.
especially for my size, like pinkies is relatively close. And I think I did a plate and like a 10 on that, and it was like really tough. And I think the difference was like normally instead of trying to like get the bar to the bottom and like throw it up through the ceiling, I was trying to like actually feel myself squeeze through the tricep on it, and like it just was
Yeah.
so much more difficult that way.
Yeah, that's a tough movement, and it's something that I wish that I could do consistently because I know it's a great movement, but it fucks my elbow up, man. Like I've got some stuff going on with this shoulder. Like the messed up thing is like I don't have any shoulder pain.
Mm.
I've never really had shoulder pain. I have a lot of restriction um, in my right shoulder, and internal rotation and external rotation is restricted in this left shoulder. And just for whatever reason, like anything like overhead, or anything where I'm really kind of cranking that flexion, it just fires it up. Um, and that's something I'm working on right now. Like I've been working with, and that we can kind of get into that, like working around injuries.
Um,
So I have been like kind of taking two different approaches. Like on one side, like I posted today on my story, like I have all these like a whole protocol in place where it's like a bunch of different peptides and kind of attacking it from like a tissue quality perspective. It's actually a protocol that I found. I was watching the Mark Bell's Power Project, and he had Chris Duffin on, and he basically was talking about this rehab protocol. And it has like a whole bunch of stuff in it, right? So it's got like collagen, it's got BPC, TB500. There's some other stuff in it that I'm not actually using because it's like CJC, no DAC, and like IGF, and I don't have any interest in that stuff. I'm sure it might have some application, but anyway, so I've got that protocol in place. And then also I'm working with an actual movement coach, which has been really, really helpful. He's got me doing all sorts of different stuff. A lot of like overhead work, like where I'm passively hanging, doing scat pulls, Jefferson curls, all sorts of like lower body mobility, and upper body mobility stuff. And it's helping, but it's a slow process. You know what I mean? So
I think that's the
I just
most
it
about
yeah. Go
like
ahead.
like mobility and stuff like that is like that comes along like even slower than like strength or size gains. You know what I mean? Like those like increases in range of motion just are so painstakingly slow, and you have to be so persistent with it for it to work, right? Like nobody like half-asses mobility and then increases their motion significantly. Like everyone, like it just crawls along. You have to be so regimented about it. It's
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. One way that I kind of think about it, or I tell my people is like if you're having these issues or any issues, like the dose of the mobility or whatever work, it needs to kind of match the dose of the damage, right? Like if you're only spending, and these are just kind of arbitrary numbers, if you're spending 8 hours in the gym training your balls off, but you're spending 1 hour doing mobility every week, like you're fighting this uphill battle. Like the dose has to kind of match where you're at, especially if you're already behind the ball and you already have issues. You know what I mean? Maintenance dose probably be a lot lower, but like if you've got issues, you're gonna have to stay on it. Because I know like if I skip a day, like I can feel it. Like I can absolutely feel it.
Well, that's one of those things too. I tell a lot of my clients, they'll text me often like, oh, this injury came back. Like, oh, I started to feel this again. I'm like, okay, well, you've been keeping up on like the prehab for it. They're like, no. It's like, okay, well, these things don't go away. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that like the dings and dents you get from the sport, like sometimes yeah they'll go away, but like more often than not they're permanent now. Like you have to take care of that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Yep. Especially the older you get. I hate to sound like the old guy, but like I didn't really have these thoughts and concerns when I was like in my, late 20s and even early 30s, but like now it's just like something kind of flares up and it just like it sticks with me unless I do something about it and like stay on top of it. So, you know, figuring out how to work around this stuff is you got to, because the problem is probably it's not gonna go away. It's probably, at best gonna stay where it's at and likely just get worse. So Joe, when you hurt your toe the other day,
Yeah.
I was like, just go home. Like, there's no point in trying to, because we were doing legs too. So he dropped the plate on his foot, and we're doing legs, right? And his toe was, I could see like where it hit, started to swell up, painful. So I'm like, yeah, you could grit your teeth and fucking, and it was like the first exercise of the day. You know what I mean? So it's like you could grit your teeth and finish this workout, but it's not worth it. Like just go home, get your foot elevated, maybe put some ice on it, and just take that L and just see what it feels like tomorrow, rather than being hard headed and potentially doing more damage. But
yeah.
then you had asked me, what did you asked me, like, well, what should I do? Like, how should I train? Should I just not train at all? Should I just
Yeah.
train my lower body,
Yeah.
or
Pretty
train my
much.
upper body, or what? And what I had kind of said was like you train everything that is not hurt. Like if your left foot is fucked, the whole right side of your body is still good to go. The whole right leg is still good
Yeah.
to go. Keep doing all of those things, right? So now your leg press becomes a single leg press, right? Maybe if you had you're doing squats, maybe now you're doing a Bulgarian split squat or something, right? Like just train the good side still. So what do you have you when you have somebody, TJ, that gets hurt, like hurt where they can't train something, they tore something, they broke something, how do you have them approach that? What do you do with them?
So knock on wood, I haven't had any tears yet. Usually it's just what you said. It's like, oh, what can you train? You know what I mean? Like, oh, right shoulder's hurt. We're gonna do a bunch of left side work. You know what I mean? Oh, like your back hurts. You can't deadlift. Well, can you squat? Oh, you can squat. We're gonna make you a squat specialist for the next however long. It was. There's never. I don't think there's ever been a point where I've had someone injure themselves bad enough to stop. Now, that's not to say that like I've had someone, I never had someone hurt themselves. Like people have gotten hurt. It's the nature of the business, nature of the sport, right? People, tweak their back, they tweak their arm.
Yeah, yeah.
It happens, but very rarely have I ever had someone have an injury that requires them to stop. You know what I mean? There's been people who have gotten hurt and decided and taken it upon themselves to stop. That I can't do anything about that. You know what I mean? But there's never been a case where it's been okay. You're hurt bad enough to where you have to like physically stop doing this. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's usually just like okay, how can we modify it close enough to what we were doing? Like, what's the least amount of regression we can make? You know what I mean? And it's kind of just trial and error. It's like when I tore my hamstring, it was okay. Well, what's my range of motion? You know what I mean? And then the next week, I had a bar in my hands doing RDLs for like 3 inches. You know what I mean? It was like okay, that
Gotcha.
that's how deep I'll go. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the approach I take with everyone. And someone's like, "Oh, well, I can't bench to my chest." Like, okay, well, how far can you bench? Can you get 3 inches? Well, we'll do 3 inch pin presses. You know what I mean? Then next
Right.
week, a little closer. And then next week, I literally have a guy right now with he messed up his shoulder doing deadlifts. I don't know how he did that. Very impressive, but it wasn't a bicep. It actually wasn't a bicep. I checked it out. Bicep was clean. Um, he
Hmm.
was deadlifting on a weird platform, and the bar like bounced weird. And I guess he just had tension in somewhere in his shoulder. And you know, but
Interesting. Yeah.
we've literally like his board press on his day two is just X board press, and the X being like get it as close as you can for the day. You know what I mean? Like If that ends up being a 3 board one day, then it's a 3 board. If that ends up being a 1 board or tier chest, awesome. But it's never like we're doing this. It's always like, okay, we're going to see how it feels for the day. We're just going to get it down as close as we can.
Yeah. 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 That's like, I think that kind of separates people, like those that just like, because I've had this happen where somebody gets hurt and they're like, well, I can't work out now. And I'm like, no, that's literally the worst thing that you could possibly do. Like the worst thing. Figure out what you can train and just keep training that. And then you get kind of the questions of like, well, if I only train my right side, I don't want to be lopsided. First of all, I don't know how fucking fast you're building strength or putting on muscle, but I don't think you're gonna be building so much muscle on one side of your body that
Or,
it, you know what I mean, that you get lopsided. I don't think that's gonna happen. But also, like, have you guys heard of like this thing called cross education?
mm-hmm.
So it's basically the concept that like training, if you get injured, right, and you train the good side of your body, that there is some sort of cross education with your nervous system in effect, I guess,
Yeah.
that helps your body to keep these pathways to the injured side open, retain strength and retain muscle. So it's actually kind of like imperative that you do train that good side still, you know?
Yeah. I've
Yeah,
heard of
yeah,
that. That's and like I think a lot of people probably think that it's fake, but like the brain's a weird thing. You know what I mean? It's the
yeah,
coolest part about it is that the elasticity of your brain just lasts literally forever. Like it literally never goes away. You know what I mean? So yeah, you train the one side hard, and it literally can make the other side not stronger necessarily, but prevent it from losing strength.
right. Yeah, yep. Joe, I know you've got some stuff going on. Like, I know you said like you're kind of shifted. I can't remember what your exact issues are, but like, have you ever been injured? And like, what kind of like issues have you come across or had to deal with in the past?
Um, so it's never been in the weight room. So I ran track when I was in high school, and then I played basketball like all my life. So my left ankle, or my right ankle, is tore up. I've rolled it. I don't even know how many times, and I think I've like fractured my left ankle too. So both of my ankles are like shot pretty much. And I've noticed. I think that is the it my body is like overcompensating for the weakened ankles and stuff like that. So like my hips are not aligned, like one's a little bit higher than the other. Um and then because of that stuff, it's like affecting my squat, like certain muscle developments, like my glutes and like my left quad and stuff like that. Just because like the mobility on that side is affected because everything's not the same all the way down. Um and then this happened. So it's actually what you were just talking about. I think just being able to focus on my left side, which is like my problem side, it might actually like benefit with the concept that you were just talking about, because it's going to give me more time to focus on that side now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, have either one of you ever heard of something called DNS, dynamic neuromuscular stabilization?
Yeah.
So I've gone down this whole rabbit hole because I'm kind of just trying to like realize like how did I end up in the spot where I have like accumulated all of these things, right? Like I don't have anything major. Like I've never really had any major injuries. My knees hurt. It's pretty much just my knees hurt. My elbow hurts. That's it, right? Nothing crazy. But I'm just kind of like wondering, like, well, how did I fucking get here, you know? And so I I work with the owner of the gym that I work at. He is a certified DNS practitioner. I don't know the exact title, but he does DNS. That's like what he does. That's all his personal training sessions are all DNS. And that is basically like a framework to realign your body essentially. Like and it starts back at the core concepts of movement, like from when you were young. Like as you're a toddler, like you usually start out on your back, you get into this 90-90 position, you start to learn how to create intra-abdominal pressure and roll and kind of, get into the side lying. And then you start to get onto your hands and knees, right? And then you start to put a leg up, and then you start fucking get squatting up, and then you start fucking walking, right? So it's kind of, and I'm probably just like butchering this, but he has always kind of like, and he's not like a confrontational person, so he might hear like some of the cues that I'm giving, like some of the cues that we've all used and probably give our clients, like, a big chest, retracted shoulder blades, and a bench press, and he's just like, no, that's not what you want to do. And on one hand, I'm like, well, that's how you lift the most weight. But on the other hand, I'm now kind of starting to piece all this stuff together and going down this rabbit hole. There's a guy that I've just started following. I think his name is Jonathan Warren. I'm pretty sure it's Jonathan Warren, but he's doing these like videos, like he's got these like scrolling through IG videos, and he like comments on like Mike Israetel and like some of the form and cues that he gives out, and just how it may not be the best thing, especially if you are trying to bodybuild or trying to build a muscle, right? Like if you're in powerlifting and you need to be in these positions to facilitate a less range of motion or lift the most weight, that makes sense. But if you're actually trying to put the most tension on the muscle, and we're going to use bench press in this example, it may not be the best thing, right? So like that big arch, you can look at a lot of powerlifters, people that lift like big weights, big bench press, and not a lot of them have like crazy chests, right? Am I just tripping on that or no?
Whenever I see a really good bench presser, I think that is always the most impressive to me about like their physique is their upper back and their lats. It's always the upper
Yeah.
back. If I can always tell if someone has a big bench by how like thick their traps are.
Gotcha. And that makes sense. Just like keeping all that stuff like kind of pulled back and keeping it all tense. You have a lot of time accumulated in that position.
Right.
And that's kind of what this guy talks about, like how you spend all this time in these positions, like you're talking like thousands of reps, you know what I mean? And so you're essentially like orienting this your rib cage so that you're kind of like more compressed in your back, you know what I mean? And that actually ends up taking tension off of the pecs. And I've been messing around with this and just, because I've never really been able to press with like a super huge arch, you know what I mean? But I feel like I get quite a bit out of my bench press, and I've also never really tried to keep my shoulder blades back as hard as I can. I try to get a little bit of movement, especially at the top. But like if you get into this big arch and keep your shoulder blades back and extend your arm forward, like press forward, like you can feel your pec, but you can feel your pec a lot more if you let a little bit of that protraction happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like on like a fly almost, you know what I mean? Like you're letting some of that protraction happen. So I don't even know where I was going with this, but it's just interesting to me that these that I've gone down this rabbit hole, and I'm just kind of trying to rethink and really get myself, and this lines up to you, TJ, get myself out of the patterns that I had been in, trying to be strong, and really just being okay with not being as strong, but really just letting my body move a little bit more freely and keeping the load on the muscle where it's supposed to be at.
Yeah.
Actually, I was doing Jeff Nippard's program a couple years ago, and he had programmed on there like flat, like specifically flat back benching. So no arch, no nothing. And I noticed quite a bit of growth in my chest actually when I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the, like ways to build the chest for and build bench in general is the Duffalo bar. Because it gives you extra range of motion, right? So you get someone with like a pretty big arch, and they're not really getting very deep into that range of motion anyway. You put them on a Duffalo bar, well, now they're getting that extra range in the movement, and you just see their bench and their chest, honestly, like just absolutely blow up.
Yeah. Yeah. How
That
often
makes sense.
do you program that on like a case by case, or is that something that gets into the mix at for everybody, or how do you set that up?
That's normally my first go-to for off season because we're trying to limit load anyway, and that's a good time to hit something that's going to be like more challenging as it is, but then it self limits load because you can't use as much weight on it. You know what I mean? So, and we're probably doing something like a high bar squat or a safety bar squat, so we're not going to beat the elbows and shoulders up that way. So it's a good time to give a little bit of volume on the duffel bar there.
Okay. Why are you trying to limit load uh in the off season? Is it more just that you're trying to accumulate like kind of volume more so, or like what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so like right after a meet, you know what I mean. You don't want to go back into like heavy singles or heavy doubles like immediately. You want to try to especially if someone's not going to compete for a while, you want to go to something a little bit like easier on the body, just because they're probably beat from the meet and just going through a meet prep. You know what I mean. So you limit the load in the case of like we're not going to like pull you all the way back, but we're going to pull you back enough so you can recover and kind of get back into the swing of it and start to build out that base again.
Gotcha. Gotcha. One thing that we want to touch on, do either one of you follow Sam Sulik?
I keep up here and there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
passing when I see it.
Just little stuff you see online, right? Like I've
Yeah.
I've probably watched like I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 of his videos. Um, but obviously, like you guys know, he just competed, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So here, let me see if I can pull this up here. I mean, I think he looks great. This is his first show.
I was gonna say he won, right? He
Yeah,
won his first show.
he won the he won his class. So in the amateur ranks, basically the way that they have this set up in bodybuilding is that you so for classic for example, there's different categories within classic that are based on essentially height, right? And each of those heights has like a different weight cap. So for instance, I usually compete in class C, which is, one of the, I can't remember. It's like 5'11", or um, it's like a range. It's like 5'11", between 5'11" and 5'10" and 5'11", or something like that. Right. But
Yeah.
so they'll have the different height classes within classic. Right. And then if you win that class, or if you win your division, then you go and compete against all of the guys that won in their respective height classes. So he then went up against, classic A, B, C, right? And he won out of all of those classic competitors in the different height classes. So he took the overall on that, which is phenomenal. But I find it interesting that like so many people are just giving this dude just such crazy shit. It's wild. Like if you ever go to a bodybuilding show, and TJ, like you're gonna be, kind of going down that road, I would super duper suggest like that we go to a show and you see this
Yeah,
in person, because what you're gonna see is that not a lot of people look like this. Not a lot of people look like this. So this is a great outcome, and I mean he's got some stuff that he needs to work on. He needs to learn how to pose his legs, because I think his legs look a lot better than he's actually displaying them. But as far as a first time outing, like this is great. This is great.
Yeah, the biggest criticism I saw was from his posing, but yeah, like you said, like he looks insane, and this is his first show. He's only gonna get better.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
young.
I think he's like 22.
He's got a lot of
Yeah,
time then, and time to grow.
yeah. I think he's like
Do you
20.
know if do you know if he works with a coach or is this by himself?
I think that this was just by himself.
Dude,
I
if he
think
gets with a coach, it might be nutty.
I think that's kind of the whole like his whole like thing is that he's just kind of like flying by the seat of his pants with all this. He doesn't have anyone that he like works with or anything like that. He's kind of just like obviously he's not, but he's kind of playing at being like the average gym bro kind of thing. Like to an extreme extent, if you will.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right, so we had a little technical difficulty, so hopefully this is cohesive and and not all messed up. But we kind of left off on Sam Sulik and it being his first time competing. Um, and we don't know what his expectations were because everybody, he's very humble. He never said like, "Oh, I'm going to come here and win." Um, he just showed up. He just, documented the process. That was it. And everybody else was, saying, "Oh, he's overhyped, this and that, yada yada yada." So maybe we can kind of tie this into last sort of topic, which is just like, and this will probably be more so aimed at you, TJ, like managing a client's expectations for like first time competitors.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Um, Man, it sucks that you have to be the bad guy sometimes. You know what I mean? And that's not even just for first time competitors. That's across the board.
Yeah.
I think that the more seasoned someone gets, sometimes the more realistic their expectations are. But you still get those people every now and then. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to hit this at this meet," and you have to be like, "No, you're not." You know what I mean? Like, no, you're not even close to that. So, I mean, realistically, for like first time powerlifters, like the biggest thing is be like, "Hey, we're gonna try to hit all your attempts." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, 9 for 9. Yeah.
obviously we want a PR, but like I'm not going to send you out there and just have you, fail miserably at a weight you have no business attempting because you wanted to hit it. We're not going to do that.
Is that something you get pushback on, or you've ever had anybody that pushed
Yeah.
back on that, or yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah,
oh yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny about that is generally the more seasoned lifters push back harder, which is something I've always found interesting. Like you have a beginner and you're like, hey, we're going to do this because this is how I've always done it and it's always worked this way, or like tends to work this way. They're usually like, okay. And then you get someone who's been doing it 3 4 years. I'm like, hey, we're gonna open at this. I'm like, well, I've always opened at this. I'm like, I don't care.
right,
You know, how's that
yeah,
worked out? You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah. I could imagine that the people that are very very new, just getting started, they don't know anything, so they're gonna listen to you. The people that are in that kind of intermediate, have a couple competitions but under their belt, I could see where that would make more sense. And then obviously, like, somebody that's really been in it, like their input is going to be far more valuable just because they have more experience, but they're going to be more likely just to like put it in the coach's hands. Yeah.
it's that bell curve. It's like that meme of the bell curve where it's like the one guy who's like the beginner is down here, and then there's the bell curve, and then there's the other guy who is like super ton of experience, and they're saying the exact same thing. It's exactly what it is. Like the beginner and the person who's been doing it for 10 years are both like, all right, I'm gonna let you handle it because I hired you for a reason. You know best. And then it's everyone in the middle that fights me on what I say. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Middle's like, well, I just think that. I'm like, that's great. We're not doing that. So
Yeah. So for somebody that is maybe competing like in powerlifting at their first time and they don't have a coach, like what might you advise them on, like in terms of like you know how to go about that first meet, even like what type of like, I guess, load selection, like should you be more conservative, should you go for it, what might you say?
for a first time competitor, like very, very first time,
Yeah, yeah.
I would say decide how you want your meet to go before you get there. In the sense of, do you want to lay it out on the platform and go for these PRs in your first meet? Or do you want to get some experience and figure out what it takes to have a good meet so that next meet can be even better? You know what I
Right.
mean? One of those things where if you're going in by yourself and you are, you want to hit this PR you've had in your head, well, you have to decide that you're okay not getting that
Hmm.
and leaving that on the table. Or do you not care what you hit at your first ever meet, which is the mindset I would recommend most people take. Go in and get your attempts on the board, get your experience, figure out what it takes to have a good meet. And that's what I did my first couple meets. Was I did the opposite. I went in with the mindset like, okay, I have to hit these goals I've set for myself, or my meet was a failure. Right? I did that for my first 2 or 3 meets, and then I went, okay, I'm going to go in and plan my day the best way that I can based on that day. And then all of a sudden I started having really good meets.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was one of those things where it was just a mindset shift of like, okay, I really wanted to squat. It was like my maybe my third ever meet, I think I squat 600 pounds. I was like, I really want to squat 620, but I'll be okay if I only get to 600. And so I just made two different plans. Like, okay, the day's going perfect, I'll go this way. If the day's not, I go this way. Ended up going with the second one, and I still had a great meet. You know what I mean? I only missed my third bench,
Yeah.
which I do frequently, but I think that for first time competitors, you need to go in with a mindset of either I'm okay with this going poorly, but I tried to hit my PRs, or B, I had a really good day even if I didn't hit any PRs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That all
open
makes
lighter than you think you need to.
yeah. That all makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. You guys got anything else you want to touch on?
I mean, I would ask you maybe the same thing you just asked TJ. Like, have you had any first time stage competitors, and how do you manage their expectations?
So I've actually only put one person through a bodybuilding prep, and it wasn't her first time, so she kind of knew what to expect. The interesting thing about bodybuilding, and I'm working with another first time competitor right now. Uh, I see. I would pull him up. I actually have the screenshots of his most recent check in to his start, but I don't want to get the little glitch again, so I won't do it. Um, but yeah, for bodybuilding, it's interesting because it all depends on like, and I guess the same thing for powerlifting. It all depends on who shows up. But even more so on bodybuilding because it is there is a scoring system, but it's still a very subjective sport. So you can do everything that you're supposed to do, and somebody with better insertions who's bigger than you and leaner than you shows up, and it's just not your day. So you just all you can really expect to do, or what you should really strive for, is to leave no stone unturned, and just make sure you nail your process. Because if you go on that stage like and I'm not saying don't go there to win. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying you really have to. If you do everything that you're supposed to do and you know you gave it 100%, you will feel accomplished and be happy when you come off of that stage, regardless of what the placings are. You will. But if the only thing that you're caring about is like where you place, man, it depends on who shows up. It depends on who shows up. The first show that I ever did, I was very like I wanted to place very high. I didn't have like an exact. I wasn't so like confident that I was like I'm gonna win, but I wanted to place very high. I cared about where I placed at. You know what I mean? And I had a good outcome. I placed fourth in a class of like I don't even know. It was like 12 guys. It was the first year after the lockdowns, and so nobody had competed for a while, and everybody came out to compete. So all the classes were just like stacked. So for my first showing, like posing wasn't, posing wasn't great. I came in decent shape. I wasn't peeled. Fourth place was a good outcome, but I was not happy about it. I was upset afterwards. I didn't even want to go out to eat like with my family. And just looking back on it, it was just like, fuck, bro, like that's crazy. But it all stemmed from me obsessing about like I want to place at this particular spot. I want to have, I want to place as high as I can. And like, yes, I know that's the goal. But in contrast to the most recent competition season that I had, where I literally was just like, I don't even care. Like I'm just going to nail everything I'm supposed to do. And that it just falls where it does. Like that's just it. And so the first show that I did in that season, I placed third, and it was crazy because it was like I was super happy, like walking. I wasn't up on stage pissed off. Like I was genuinely like I fucking did everything I was supposed to do. Like I didn't skip any cardio. Like I didn't fuck up on my diet. Like I did everything that I was supposed to do, and this is where I'm supposed to be at. And then went to the other show a couple weeks later, and I won that class. And so it's just you just have to focus on the process. You cannot worry so much about where you're going to land because it all just depends on who shows up on that day, you know?
I
So,
think so. Powerlifting is very similar, and that's why whenever people start to look at like the the flights and all that stuff and who's in their weight class and division, I'm like, don't worry about that. Like, worry about doing better. Worry about doing better than you did last meet because you don't know who's gonna like. I'm a 308 and I compete in sleeves, and the best total in sleeves at 308 is like over 2,400 pounds. And one of those dudes, there's three or four of them that have a shot to do 23 plus at any given meet, and any one of them could show up to the next meet that I'm going to. So it's like, why am I going to worry about that? It's gonna suck the fun out of like my progress. You know what I
yep,
mean? Like,
yep, yep, yep. You gotta worry about yourself, worry about the work that you do, and that's it. That's all
and,
you
and
can
that,
do.
that's the thing too is anybody can go to any meet and stack up against some of the best in the world, and they could have just an awful meet or bomb out, and that guess what? You beat them that day. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
That's
That's
that's another thing that's I think good to point out is that not everybody like you're gonna have some good shows, good meets, and you're gonna have some not good meets and not good shows. Just because you won this show doesn't mean that you can't come fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth in the next one. Like it's just the ups and downs. Like that's just what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, and
Um,
that's with the same the same physique too. Putting that on equivalent with like same total. Like you total the exact same thing with the exact same body weight, two different meets, and you can win by 40 dots points, and you can come in almost dead last. You know what I
yep.
mean? That's
Yep.
it's just the nature of the nature of the game.
Yeah, yeah. It'll suck the fun out of it, man, if you do it for any reason other than just getting better yourself.
Yeah, straight up.
Absolutely. So, okay, boys, we'll close this one down. Thanks for joining today. Catch you
Yeah,
guys later.